What's going on, guys? This is Jake at That Fit Friend, and today we're going to be comparing the Xero Shoes 360 to the Vivobarefoot Geo Racer Knit. Now, I plan to do other comparisons with these two companies' shoes later on. This is our first one of many more, but now let's dive into three major differences between each of these models. The first major difference is the upper construction. So in the Geo Racer Knit, we have this more stretchy, breathable knit material. It is very much more lightweight. There is no external stitching on this model, and overall it has a very sleek and lightweight feel to it, especially in regard to performance. The Xero Shoes 360 has a much more, I would say, beefy construction, especially towards the toe and the heel. Up here on the forefoot, we have these rubber layers to prevent early breakdown from friction from things like rope climbs, etc. We have this beefed up suede layer up here in the toe, and then we have a little bit of a suede layering back here in the heel. We also have some breathable mesh throughout, and we have that Hirashi inspired design as the skeleton of this model. The second major difference is the overall sole construction in each shoe. So the Xero Shoes 360 has a slightly thicker sole throughout, and we also have that wrap here on the lateral and medial side at the base of the pinky and big toe. This is honestly pretty great, I think, for especially folks who are taking these on hikes, trail runs, to the gym, to do all these different activities where you do want a bit more protection on the foot, but you still want that barefoot feel. Like, this model is still pretty dirty from my last hike. I didn't really bother to fully clean them because authenticity. In the Vivobarefoot model here, we have a much more thin rubber sole. It is very nimble, and throughout, you can tell, it just doesn't have the same level of thickness to it compared to the 360. Now, when we talk about the intent and how each shoe is intended to be used, it makes sense. The 360 is designed for more cross training, while the Geo Racer Knit is kind of a jack of all trades. You can wear them to gym, you can wear them on a daily basis, lighter runs, etc. And the sole is designed to tackle all of those tasks, but it's not necessarily designed for specifically cross-training, CrossFit style workouts. The third major difference between these shoes is just their overall last construction. So as you can see up here on the toe box, they're both wide and they both accommodate toe splay, so both give you that nice barefoot shoe feeling. However, over here in the Vivobarefoot, it's very much more pronounced with the anatomical curve of the toe up here, and we have a slightly wider midfoot compared to the Xero Shoes model. In the Xero Shoes model, you can see that we have a little bit more of a concave here on the medial side, and the toe box, while being plenty wide, doesn't have such a sharp curve to it. Both are honestly pretty dang phenomenal in my opinion. They both fit really well. It's just a slight difference that is worth noting depending on how you really want your shoes to feel, fit, and move with you. So now that we've talked on differences, let's go ahead and dive into how these shoes perform in different settings, because if you're watching this video, you're likely on the fence between some of these models, and hopefully this can help you then contextualize which model will be best per your needs, wants, and preferences. All right, so now let's talk about which model is better for recreational lifting. So this is the type of lifter that wants a barefoot shoe for their barbell training, their accessory movements, and just wearing to the gym on a regular basis. And this is where I would say it's actually a draw. What I would say is this, that both of these models are awesome for accommodating recreational lifting, but they do have slightly different feels to them. The Geo Racer Knit has a much more lightweight feel to it. It feels very much more minimalist, especially with the upper construction, and it breathes really well. Personally, I like this model for more of my workouts where I know I'm going to be doing a lot of hinge focused exercises, deadlifts, etc., because you can feel the ground so well in this shoe and you can really ground the foot. Now, when it comes to the Xero Shoes 360, I also like this for recreational training. However, I wear this on days where I'm doing barbell work, dumbbell work, and I'm adding in more athletic focused movements. Because this shoe is designed for tackling slightly more versatile settings, this is a better model for the lifter that wants to both train, do hit, run, jump, etc. all in one training session. Hence why this model is better for cross training, and that is our next section. So now let's dive into which model is better for cross training and CrossFit. And as you probably guessed from what I just alluded to, that's where I'm going to take the Xero Shoes 360. With the overall upper construction in this model, I think it's a much more durable bet when it comes to things that could cause friction on the front of your shoe. So rope climbs, if you're dragging the toe in burpees, etc., we have that nice suede layer up here to help protect the toe construction. And this model is designed for these style of activity and training. Plus, when we look at the insole in this model, it does have a slightly thicker texture to it, to the Vivobarefoot Geo Racer Knit, which we will cover in the construction section. And I think that's honestly awesome for somebody who might be dipping their toes into cross training with barefoot shoes to kind of ease them in and acclimate them to this style of footwear. Because when we're talking about cross training, we have such a wide variety of activities that we could be tackling with our shoes that this model, I think, does a slightly better bet at just being a slightly more durable option, especially when it comes to that person who is just getting into barefoot shoes for the first time. The Geo Racer Knit does a pretty good job at cross training. However, with this lighter upper construction and how it moves and breathes, etc., I actually prefer not to use this for any type of workout where I know there's going to be upper friction on the shoe. Plus, this shoe does have a higher price point of $170 USD. So if you want your shoe to go the distance, I would recommend not having much friction on the upper in this model just to prevent any chance of breakdown. So I would suggest that if you're into CrossFit and cross training, look into the 360. It is slightly more niche for that style of training. The Geo Racer Knit will work. However, I do worry about the long-term durability with some of the components that come along with CrossFit style training and just overall cross training workouts. All right, so now let's talk about which model is better for running. So personally, I like both of these models, but for slightly different types of running. I think the Xero Shoes 360 with its overall beefed up construction is a better option for the person that wants to run outside casually with their barefoot shoes. So if you are somebody who is into more serious running and you're looking for a barefoot shoe, you may want to go a bit more niche with the shoe option you go for. Because this is designed for cross training, it may feel a little bit limiting. However, when it comes to like outdoor work, I do like the overall construction in this model and the thickness of the sole. Now, the Geo Racer Knit, what type of running is this shoe good for? If you're inside or on a treadmill, this is a great model. Because it has a slightly thinner sole, I do worry about it being outside a ton and having it break down a little bit. So that being said, to prevent that, using them indoors, I think will just prolong the overall life of the shoe. Plus, if you're running on a treadmill or like, let's say an indoor track, I think the tread and sole patterning on this model will break down and not scuff nearly as fast as if you were outside on the pavement, concrete, etc. All right, so our last topic is going to be which model is better for daily wear. And so personally, I like both models for daily wear, but if I'm being honest, I do think the Geo Racer Knit has a slightly more aesthetic appearance. It looks very much more clean. It is very low profile when it comes to being how loud it is, and it looks more like a normal shoe compared to the Xero Shoes 360. With this model, you can tell that it's very much more gym focused in nature. Plus, when we look at the toe itself, the thicker toe on the Xero Shoes 360 is actually something I'm really not a fan of for daily wear. So if you want something a bit more low profile that you can wear to the gym, etc., do some casual running in and want to wear on a daily basis, the Geo Racer Knit I think is the much more aesthetically pleasing model. However, both of these models will work for daily wear. So when talking on sizing and fit in each model, you should be safe going true to size in each shoe. So the Xero Shoes 360, I have ample room up in the toe box when it comes to length and width. And then over here in the Geo Racer Knit, it's the same exact thing. But what I will say is this, with the Geo Racer Knit, I actually have a bit more room in the toe box in regard to length. And I did notice that my foot would slide a little bit when doing things like broad jumps, etc., where I'm having the feet jam a little bit more forward into my shoes. So that all being said, you should be safe going true to size. However, I would certainly look more into Vivobarefoot shoes sizing because I know they do have a sizing calculator on their site to help you out. So check that out if you are interested in any of the Vivobarefoot models. So now when talking on the price comparison of each shoe, the Xero Shoes 360 comes in at $119.99 USD, while the Geo Racer Knit has a price point of $170 USD. That is quite the difference in pricing. But what I would say is this, if you are a cross-training focused athlete and that's what you want these shoes for, then obviously go with the 360. But if you're somebody who wants something that they can wear on a daily basis and you really care about the looks of your shoe, then the Geo Racer Knit I think is much more worth it because it does work so well in a variety of settings and it looks good on a daily basis. All right, so now let's go over the weight of each shoe. So this is the Vivobarefoot Geo Racer Knit in a size 10. This comes out to 9 ounces. And then for the 10 in the Xero Shoes 360, we have a weight of 10.2 ounces. Overall, you really can't feel a big difference. And the increased weight in the Xero Shoes 360 just comes from this beefed up upper construction, but that's also what helps this model perform when it comes to overall durability. All right guys, now let's go through a construction side by side with each shoe. So up here on the toe, each shoe has a beefed up material to help prolong its durability. In the 360, we have this thicker suede material with some external stitching. And then in the Geo Racer Knit, it's more of a synthetic material that has a nice clean overlay. And then looking at the upper itself, throughout the toe box at least, we have a knit over here on the Geo Racer Knit, and then we have this more like textured rubber material in the 360. So this is again designed to prolong its overall durability and to resist friction from rope climb, etc. And we have a mesh underneath that will then extend to the midfoot. So we have a more breathable mesh throughout the midfoot in the Xero Shoes 360 and a slightly beefed up heel back here with that more suede overlay. And then as you can see, we have that like skeleton of like the Hirache inspired design here, which is pretty standard in all of the Xero shoes. Looking at the Geo Racer Knit, we have a full knit throughout. So we have some Vivobarefoot branding here on the lateral side, over here on the medial side. Similarly, we have a knit construction, and then back here on the boot, it's pretty thin in nature and it has an extended knit layer up here where that external heel loop sits. So overall, when it comes to the upper construction in each model, the upper in the Geo Racer Knit is much more thin, lightweight, and maneuverable compared to the Xero Shoes 360. This shoe is also maneuverable. However, due to the sheer differences and just the overall construction in each model, it's pretty easy to see that the Geo Racer Knit is much more like lightweight in nature, and that's why I actually don't recommend it for most cross-training settings. So now when physically looking at the appearance of the toe in each model, I mentioned this earlier in the daily wear section, but the 360's toe comes up a bit more, and it's a bit more thick in nature compared to the Geo Racer Knit. Like as you can see, the toe in this model sits much lower, and that's why I actually think it looks better for an aesthetic daily basis, because it's not the most aesthetically pleasing thing on the market. Now, when looking at the overall sole construction, so over here in the Vivobarefoot, we have more of this like full overlay of this like hexagon material. We have some Vivobarefoot branding up here, and then over here in the Xero Shoes 360, we have a full rubber sole with multi-directional arrows on the heel and the forefoot. We have a little base here for the base of the big toe, and the midfoot construction and patterning is pretty standard. Now, looking at each model's midfoot. So in the Geo Racer Knit, we have 7 eyelets that run up. The 7th eyelet back here is for lace locking. And then in the Xero Shoes 360, we have 6 eyelets throughout, and the 6th back here is for lace lock. When it comes to insole construction, both models have a removable insole, which I personally love, because once you take these out, both shoes are finished on the inside, so they work really well with or without their insoles. So you can rock them either or if you want to get even closer to the ground, which is great for both lifting and for folks who really want to be able to feel the ground when moving. Overall, they're both pretty low profile in design, and really the biggest construction details are just how the sole interacts with the upper and what the upper is designed to do. The 360's upper is much more thick in nature and designed for CrossFit and cross-training workouts, while the Geo Racer Knit is just like every other knit shoe on the market for the most part, where it's very breathable, very comfortable, and very maneuverable. So this model is awesome for daily wear and more casual training sessions where you're not necessarily worried about a ton of friction on the upper of this model. If you have any questions on the overall construction in these shoes, hit me in the comments below and I will answer whatever you have. All right guys, that wraps up my review of the Xero Shoes 360 versus the Vivobarefoot Geo Racer Knit. Both shoes are awesome across the board. They just each have areas where they excel a little bit more than the other. If you have any questions on these shoes, hit me in the comments below or reach out to me personally, whichever you prefer. And as always guys, drop a like on the video, drop subscribe to the channel. See you guys in the next one.